Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Srini here. And today, guys, I'm going to present you all with a very interesting topic, which you all would be really interested in. That is going to be like, what are the top five most popular interview questions which you can expect when you are going for a Selenium automation interview? Be it for any kind of experience range. This video is going to be very useful, guys. Believe me. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to cover all the five topics, even though it's only five questions. But I want to make sure that I explain you all how to answer those five questions in a very proper manner. So I will try to break it up into two parts if possible and explain you all thoroughly how to answer those questions, because these questions are, as per my experience when I've taken interviews as well as when I've attended interviews, right? I have seen these questions get repeated a lot many times, and I have seen that candidates sometimes they fail to answer the perfect answer what the interviewer is expecting. They are not able to answer to the manner in which the interviewer is expecting, and then they finally don't give a good impression to the interviewer. Remember, guys, the initial questions form the basis on which you can, have your next set of questions prepared. If you are unable to answer the first few questions in a proper manner, in a confident and accurate manner, then believe me, guys, interviewer would not be getting a good impression, and they would shorten the duration of the interview. They would understand that the candidate is not having a strong base on certain concepts, and they would, instead of taking for 1 hour, which was scheduled interview time, they might be taking it just for half an hour to 40 minutes. So be prepared and go well prepared for the interview and just be confident. So I'll just tell you all what are the going to be five most important interview questions for a Selenium interview. So let's get started. So this is going to be today's topic, and it will be covering Java and Selenium both. When I say popular Selenium interview questions, guys, that means Java is implicitly included. It is not like it's going to be only Selenium. No, nowadays the interviewers focus on asking more Java questions than Selenium. That is the truth. They want to know if the candidate is having a proper way of forming a programming logic. Can that candidate think of some logic? Can the candidate write some code? How is the candidate thinking? That is what they want to know. Would that particular person be able to do good programming when that particular candidate joins the team? So they are not interested in just knowing Selenium questions. That Selenium questions could be just theoretical. It could be found from the internet as well. But they are more interested in knowing, can you crack the logic? Can you write the code? That is what the candidate interviewer is expecting the candidate to do. And it's not just that you have to by heart some code and then go and write down the same code. That will make them surely understand that you've just by hearted the code and come. You have to explain them how you have written the code. What is the logic behind it? When you're writing the code, explain them. This is what I'm going to do now. This is what I'm going to write. Right. So just tell them that what you're going to do when you're writing the code. Just tell them what you're thinking about. Right. And then you can explain them from your coding perspective what you have written, why you have formed that logic, what is the thought process behind it. It's not just about the code. They want to know what you're thinking, how you're thinking, what is the logic you have formed. And then finally, even if it was not successful in achieving what exactly the result the interviewer expected, it's perfectly fine. Believe me, guys, don't get panicked if you are unable to crack the complete code. They just want to test your programming abilities and how much you can attempt. If you get a difficult question as well, do not be afraid or do not panic at all. Just think from your side. Take them, ask the interviewer that give me 5 minutes. I want to think about some logic, and I'll be starting my code soon. Just buy some 5 minutes of time. Think about the logic. If you were given this question, what all different knowledge you have got in Java, or let's say Python, any language whichever you've learned, right? Just think about all the concepts collectively and think how you're going to connect the dots, what all concepts you're going to use, how you're going to form the logic. It's just the starting point. Starting trouble is the main thing to get started. Once you have solved the starting part, you can then attempt a particular code, and you can do your best to achieve writing of the code. Even if it's not perfectly complete, it's fine. They just want to see how much you can try from your side, rather than giving it up and say, I can't do this, it's kind of difficult, I can't think of logic. Rather than saying that, just go and attempt it. That's what I would advise you all. So let's get started, guys. So what are the going to be top 5 most asked interview questions? I'm going to let you all know in this particular video, and I'll try my best to do this within 2 parts. And along with that, I'm going to give you some good tips as to what all other topics you have to learn and go prepared when you go for a Selenium automation interview. So let's get started. I'm going to have a document shared, and I will be explaining you all the questions one by one, and I'll ensure that you'll understand it thoroughly. Yeah. So now I'm just going to explain you all one by one at a time. So the first most important question and a popular interview question which any of you all would have already faced so far is going to be explain about yourself in brief. So I'm not going to exclude that question for sure. It's a very important question and the first basic question which anyone would be asked directly. So here you have to mention about yourself in short. Don't give a long lengthy answer to the interviewer. They are not expecting you to give your complete bio, whatever you have mentioned in your resume. No, they are just expecting a brief answer from you. So tell about your qualification, tell about your total number of years of experience in whatever domain you have got, like be it IT or any kind of a field, engineering or any background you are having. Just mention what particular qualification you're having, like be engineering in computers, having so and so number of years of experience, and tell them your current company, you're working in this company with this designation. Designation means not the company assigned designation. It means what is your current role. Are you a senior automation engineer or are you just a automation engineer? Are you automation lead? Tell them about that. Tell them about what frameworks you have used in your current project. If they ask you what were the previous companies apart from this current company, tell them what were your previous what company names, and if they are interested to know further, then you tell about the projects which you have worked in those companies. But your focus should be mainly on your current company, current project which you're working on, and what tools and technologies and framework you're using in your current framework. Now, why I was stressing on tools, technologies, and framework is because they want to know, as per your experience and skill set, whether you will be a good map to the requirement what they are having, right? So it's also important that you go across their job description, that is JD, and understand what is their expectation, right? And accordingly tell them about your past experience also. Let's say they are expecting a person who has experience in Cucumber BDD framework as an example, but your current framework or current project is using hybrid framework, maybe a data driven and keyword driven combination, but you have worked upon Cucumber BDD in your past company framework. So tell them that also I've worked on this Cucumber BDD and data driven framework standalone separately as a part of my previous company experience. So that will give them an impression that not only you have got this current project experience of this framework, you also have worked on other frameworks as well. So they are having a good impression about you from a knowledge repository perspective, that you are having these areas of knowledge. Still, you're yet to crack the interview from the other questions perspective, but you have given them an idea that this guy might be a good fit. That is what you want to set the tone initially. Now you explain about your framework. That's the next part which I'm going to explain here. Explain about your framework, the current project framework. Give them a layout. So when I am talking about the layout, what I mean is that what is your project layout going to be look like? So just if they are giving you a piece of paper, if it's a face-to-face interview, and if you're given a piece of paper, then just draw this kind of a diagram that you will be having different packages in a project layout. And I'm just mentioning the package names here just for your understanding and how I basically have my framework. So let's say I have a config package. I've got a utils package which will be storing utilities. I've got a test package. If I'm using a page object model design pattern, I'm having a form package which is going to have the page classes actually for that particular framework. What else? I'll be having one particular package for storing the logs. I'll be having one particular package for storing the reports. And if I need any resources like Chrome driver, exe, etc., I'll be having a separate package for resources. Are we missing out something? Yes, we are missing out one base class package. This is going to have a base class as well as if any other important things which we want within a base class, everything this particular base package is going to have. Yeah, so this pretty much covers my project layout. And of course, I'll be having my log4j properties here. I'll be having my extend reports here. So be any framework you are going to use, you might be having a similar structure like that. You can explain your whatever layout you are having. I personally go with this kind of a layout structure for my framework. And here I have the log4j properties, and I will be also capturing my Selenium logs and my user defined logs. So this is how I generally go about explaining my framework. And here this will be having the page classes for your individual application pages. Here you'll be having your test scripts.java. You'll be having your Java files. You can have multiple test cases.java files. You'll be having utils.java. Maybe if you want to keep Excel utils separate, you can keep Excel utils separate. And here you're going to have your config.properties. And if you have any kind of a constants file, something like that used, you can mention constants file. So when I come across explaining the framework as per part of my playlist, I'll be explaining you all in detail about each and every framework. So don't worry about that for now. Right? So this is how you're going to explain the layout to the interviewer for your project. So I hope this first question answer is clear to all of you all, how to explain your current project and about yourself in short. So let's move on to the next question. So the next question is going to be a scenario based question. It will depend upon the different scenarios what the interviewer can think of. Okay, so I'm just given a couple of examples. There could be many actually, but I'm just giving a couple of examples here. It could be like find the locator of an element. It could be an element like web table. They may ask you that you are having a dynamic web table and you want to find out, I want to find out this particular cell value. How are you going to find out? So when they're giving you a scenario, you have to understand that, okay, it will of course depend upon how you go and locate that element, right? So first you need to find what is that overall web table or any element all about. How are you going to reach to that? So you have to, maybe if you want to clarify something, you can ask them, can I use this thing? Can I use that thing? Can I assume there is an ID or name available for that particular element? If they say no, there is no ID, there is no name, then you have to think of some alternative way. So in that case, you cannot use like this, right? You cannot use like @ID equal to name, something like that. You can't start from that. So you have to go and identify that there is could be some other way you can identify. So you can then tell them that I can use XPath access. That is, I can use XPath access or other XPath methods like contains, starts with. So there are other ways to find the XPath, starts with, ends with, etc. So depending upon the requirement, accordingly you can go and find the XPath through either of these ways. Relate to XPath, you can use XPath access. Now in XPath access, again there is a separate video I have already uploaded. You all can go ahead and watch it if you haven't done already. That is, it would be having like following sibling, if at all it's at a sibling level, preceding sibling, right? You can have as a child, you can go via ancestor, you can go via parent. There are different ways of how you can use the XPath access. So my video will be able to help you all out that. There are two parts to that. And XPath methods, other we are having a contains. If a particular attribute has some particular thing, like say if I just do this thing, contains, and if I say @ID, what does it contain? It contains word, something like that, right? So this is going to be your XPath. You can have this XPath basically put into your driver.find element by.xpath like that. So this is how you're going to have. Like similarly, if you are having starts with, you can have like starts with. So if your ID starts with word, then those all one element if it is found, then you can have that, right? Now there are other ways also, other kind of questions also which are asked, like what is the way to find the total number of hyperlinks in a page? Or there is this other question to that, find out how many hyperlinks are present on a page, on a current page, let's say on current page, and how many of them are broken. This is a very popular interview question, guys. How many are working, how many are broken, etc. So that you can all find out by first putting them, first identifying how many number of links are there. So you have to just go and find out, find element, right, by dot. Now you have to find out what is the way you're going to identify all the elements through a hyperlink. So it's very simple actually. It's tag name. And what is the tag name? It's anchor tag, right? And it's not going to be one element. It could you find elements? Right? There would be multiple elements on the current page, which basically would be like uh, having this particular thing matched. So you have to store this into a list, right? But this could be a list of web elements, right? This is going to be a list of elements. So you're going to store that way. And then what you have to do, you have to iterate that, right? So you are going to have list elements dot iterator. So this basically is a collection type. This is a collection type. So you are going to store this into a iterator of web element, right? And I will say this as itr elements equal to, so list elements dot iterator. I'm going to basically store this into iterator, and then I just have to iterate through the iterator. So I can use in either of the ways. I can use for each loop, I can use for loop, I can use while loop. So let's use while loop here. So you can just iterate over this itr elements like this way. While itr dot elements as next, right, and start a while loop. And here you have to basically keep on getting one element at a time. So one element at a time when you get, see the type of iterator is web element. So every time you're going to get the while loop iterated, you're going to store this into element. So let's say element and use this itr elements dot next, right? And when you get the element, what you have to do with that, you have to click on it, right? You have to click on it, you have to get the text. If you want to print the description of the link name, you can just say element dot get text, and you can print the name also. Like this also you can do. You can get the element text. Or if you are having something else like a get attribute by value, like that also you can get attribute by a specific attribute. Now what you want to do, you want to click on it. So when you click on it, so you can put all of this into try catch. You can put all of this into try catch so that whenever there is any exception caught, you can catch it in the catch clause. Right? You can catch it in the catch clause, and you can print the exceptions. I'm not going to just go into too much detail, but I hope you all got the idea about this, that you're going to print the exception caught in whatever method you are having, and just print e dot get message. So this is basically like syntax, all you'll be able to remember without even using Eclipse or any editor, because you use or you do this coding so many number of times that it will be by heart for you all that what is the syntax. So this is how you're going to identify. So if it's a menu, then of course the type of element will change. It may not be a hyperlink. It may be select tag. If it's an image, you would be going for img. So that is the reason, like these kind of scenario-based questions, the interviewer would be interested to know if the candidate is aware how to answer. So another question which I have also seen that interviewer is interested to know is that like when you, how do you use action class actually? So basically they ask questions on if you are not able to, if you are unable to interact with the element. This is a very important question, guys. With an element, what could be the reason? This is such a important question that you have to understand why. And other one important is, what are common exceptions faced when you do automation using Selenium? This is another critical question, guys. So I have personally seen this kind of questions get so much repeated. So if you're unable to interact with an element, what could be reasons? Now you all can think on your own before you watch the further part of the video, and try to assess yourself or understand from your side what could be the factors or reasons why an element may not be identified. What could be the obvious reasons for the same, right? So I hope you all have taken a pause and thought about it. Let's go further and see the answer. One reason could be that page is not completely loaded, right? Page is not completely loaded. Hence, that desired element to be located isn't loaded yet. So of course, you're going to get element not visible exception. Other thing would be element isn't a part of DOM, the HTML DOM. It's not even a part of DOM. So this was something present at certain point of time earlier, but as of now it's not there as a part of DOM. This could be another reason, or it could be stale element reference exception. So it could be the case that the element is no longer a part of DOM, so you want to update the DOM. So there are different ways of doing that. You can refresh the current, you can use Selenium code to refresh the page. You can try to form some kind of a loop to wait for the element to be loaded, etc. Other thing could be it's not clickable, or it's not like operational through usage of normal Selenium methods, usage of driver methods. So we have to use JavaScript executor. This is another way, right? Other reason could be we may need to do mouse over, to go to that element using actions class, right? Just use actions class like this way, actions equal to, and just try to initialize the actions class with your driver variable, right? Then you can use this actions saying actions dot move to element, right? And what is the element? I'm assuming that you all have already formed the element, so that has to be like this way, driver dot find element by dot xpath, etc. So whatever is your xpath or whatever locator you're using, okay, I'm just assuming you all have already got the element, to mention that here action dot move to element. So once you move to the element, then you can further do whatever actions you want to do, right? So you can do that. If you're having multiple actions, you can use build tag, and then you can finally do perform. So this is how normally we do. If you're having multiple sets of actions, we basically use a build tag and then we do perform. Okay. So this is how you have to tell. And there is one more reason for the same, and that is it's the element is a part of some frame. This is the most important point. Hence, we need to switch to the frame and then work on the element. So what's the syntax for that? Driver dot switch to dot frame. And what is the frame? It could be, you can give the frame number like 0, 1, 2, 3, like that index kind of thing, or you can give the frame ID, right? Or you can give an element which represents the frame in the parameter. So I am basically giving the name, so frame name, like that. So you have to switch to the frame. If you are having multiple frames, then you have to use the concept of inner frames, that frame within a frame, etc. So you have to basically use a dot operator and you can append the multiple frames. So this is how you basically answer this kind of question for a scenario based, that how do you interact with an element? If you're unable to do so, how can you interact, and what could be the reasons why you're not able to interact? So this was the second type of question which we can expect. There are a lot of questions, varieties actually in Selenium for the second scenario based. So I have given few important examples what I have seen interviewers ask, and I hope this was useful for you all to understand. So that's all a part of this particular first video, and in the next video I will continue the other 3 top Selenium interview questions. So stay tuned for that. See you on the next video. Thank you guys.